In our headlines on this Friday, August 8th, here in South Korea. If chip makers commit to build factories in the US during the current Trump term and all related protocols are verified, their chips can enter the American market tariff-free while the building is underway. With details up next. Meanwhile, the US State Department has, quote, noted with interest recent remarks by North Korea about possible engagement with the US if the latter accepts the regime as a nuclear weapons state. And over in the Middle East, Israeli forces are preparing to take over Gaza City under a plan proposed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that has been endorsed by his cabinet. Chip makers who seek to set up shop in the U.S. during the Trump administration's term will be exempt from the planned 100% tariffs on semiconductor shipments into the American market. Our Sang-ryong has details.
Semiconductor companies that commit to building chip facilities in the United States during U.S. President Donald Trump's term could be exempt from a proposed 100% tariff on chip imports. Speaking to Fox Business on Thursday, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick clarified that firms must file their commitment with the Commerce Department and be audited throughout the construction process to qualify for the tariff exemption. The comments come as Trump announced his latest sweeping tariff plan on Wednesday, where he said Washington would impose around 100% tariff on semiconductor imports. He cited national security concerns under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, while hinting at broader sector-specific tariffs to be announced in the coming week. The announcement has drawn close attention from South Korean tech giants Samsung Electronics and SK hynix. South Korea's top trade envoy Yoan Go said Thursday that both companies would avoid the full 100% tariff under the current Seoul-Washington trade deal, adding that South Korea would receive the most favorable chip tariff rates of any country. This is because Samsung has already invested in 2 fabrication plants in Texas, while SK hynix plans to open an advanced chip packaging and AI R&D facility in Indiana. However, there are doubts whether SK hynix's packaging plant alone would fully qualify for tariff exemptions, while Samsung, on the other hand, could benefit from not only the 2 fabrication plants, but also news that it has joined Apple's supply chain. Sang-ryong, Arirang News.
Trade Minister Yoan Go attended a meeting with the American Chamber of Commerce in Korea earlier on this Friday and affirmed yet again his prospects for productive partnership between South Korea and the U.S., highlighting the concept of a manufacturing renaissance. Do take a listen.
I think the U.S., Korea and the U.S. are really indispensable and really inevitable and indispensable and key partners. I think that is the manufacturing renaissance partnership is actually what Korea can offer to really help U.S. rebuild the U.S. manufacturing, especially in the shipbuilding and semiconductor batteries and bio, pharma, etc.
Minister Yeo also claimed the recently agreed upon trade deal between the 2 countries will serve to ease the U.S. trade deficit while revive its manufacturing. And now back onto the story I was talking about earlier. The Trump administration's tariff campaign has led to a close to $12 billion in losses for global automakers. This is according to the Wall Street Journal in an assessment on Thursday that pointed out this was the worst since the pandemic and most likely the start of a prolonged pattern. Japanese automaker Toyota reportedly bore the brutal brunt of the losses as its operating profit plunged some $3 billion. The assessment acknowledges that the answer to these import duties is higher prices and production relocation to the U.S., but it also points out these measures are tough to implement swiftly. In other news, South Korea has reaffirmed its strong support for the resumption of dialogue with North Korea, including that between the U.S. and the regime. Our Oh Soo-young has the latest.
Seoul and Washington have again expressed their wish to revive top-level dialogue between the United States and North Korea. On Friday, South Korea's Ministry of Unification said Seoul has on a number of occasions revealed its active support for resuming symmetry between Washington and Pyongyang.
South Korea and the U.S. share the position that they are open to dialogue with North Korea to seek peace on the Korean peninsula and resolve the North Korean nuclear issue.
The official added that peace on the Korean peninsula and inter-Korean relations are being discussed in preparation for the meeting of Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Donald Trump this month. Various related agencies are closely coordinating on the matter, she said, saying further details cannot be revealed at this time. This comes after a US official on Thursday said Washington is noting with interest a recent remark by North Korea hinting it may be open to dialogue. The US State Department's Acting Deputy Assistant Secretary for East Asian Affairs Seth Bailey referenced last week's statement made by Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Kim Yo-jong had said the relationship between the US and North Korean leaders is not bad and called for a new approach by Washington, saying Pyongyang's nuclear capabilities and the geopolitical reality had changed since Donald Trump's first term. But she flatly rejected the idea of denuclearization, included in the 2018 statement following then-President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un's first summit in Singapore. The two leaders had agreed to work towards denuclearization and to build new bilateral relations. Bailey said that the second Trump administration is still committed to the statement's principles and that the US leader has clearly shown his willingness to engage in negotiations. Washington, however, remains committed to North Korea's denuclearization through its alliance with South Korea to counter security challenges in Northeast Asia. President Trump in his first term met with Kim Jong-un on 3 occasions. While the first Singapore summit offered hope for a breakthrough deal on North Korea's denuclearization and economic development, disagreements over the scope of dismantling nukes led to the breakdown of their summit in Hanoi. A meeting at the inter-Korean border in 2019 was brief and saw no outcome. South Korea's new Lee Jae-myung administration has expressed its support for the resumption of Trump-Kim talks, as well as inter-Korean diplomacy. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
And President Lee Jae-myung is poised to return to state affairs this weekend as today marks the last of his 5-day summer break. Our correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
The president will have a lot on his plate when he returns to work from his week-long vacation. First off, he is set to host Vietnam's political leader To Lam on Monday, the first foreign leader to be hosted by President Lee Jae-myung. Their focus is on partnership in key areas at a time when global trade uncertainty grows.
On top of politics, security, trade, and investment, the leaders will discuss strategically important areas in depth, including nuclear energy, high-speed railways, and smart cities, as well as science technology and human resources.
Then will come the first E-Trump summit in Washington, likely slated for August 25th, according to diplomatic sources. A framework trade deal has been reached between Seoul and Washington, with the U.S. tough on tariffs, but it's not a done deal. The two sides still need to work on the details, such as the quarantine process for fruit and vegetables imported from the U.S. Security issues could be also on the table, such as upping South Korea's defense spending and a possible change to the role and scale of U.S. troops stationed in Korea, as Washington focuses on countering China's influence. Here at home, E's official schedule includes the People's Appointment Ceremony, as named by the top office, on August 15th at Gwanghwamun Square, when the nation celebrates the 80th anniversary of its liberation from Japan's colonial rule. It'll act as the official inauguration ceremony for the president who took office in June, right after the election and without a formal inauguration ceremony, given that it was a snap election.
At this event, the people will be declared as the owner of the country, and a pledge will be made to develop the Republic of Korea as a leading nation by upholding the sovereign will of the people.
Invited are former presidents and first ladies, both conservatives and liberals alike, and people from all walks of life. Also, appointments of key posts will likely pick up speed to fill the remainder of the cabinet seats, as well as ambassadorial posts to the US, Japan, China, and Russia that are currently vacant. On top of the nominations, speculation is rife that Yi will confirm the first round of presidential pardons during next week's cabinet meeting for the Liberation Day that could spark some political repercussions. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Over in the Middle East, a major escalation in the conflict that is expected as Israeli forces prepare to take over Gaza City. Our Kim Do-yeon explains.
Israel's political security cabinet has approved a plan to occupy Gaza City, the largest city in the enclave, early Friday, signaling a significant escalation in the near two-year conflict, despite intensifying international and domestic criticism. A statement from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office on social media read, quote, "The IDF will prepare to take control of Gaza City while providing humanitarian aid to the civilian population outside the combat zones, detailing the following principles for ending the war: disarmament of Hamas, return of all hostages, both living and dead, demilitarization of the Gaza Strip, Israel's security control over the Gaza Strip, the existence of an alternative civilian government that is not Hamas or Palestinian Authority." Netanyahu's office also noted that most political security cabinet members believed an alternative plan would not achieve the defeat of Hamas or the return of hostages. However, government sources indicate that the security cabinet's decision still requires full approval from the full cabinet, a session not expected until Sunday. The cabinet's approval came just hours after Netanyahu said Israel intended to assume full military control of the entire strip.
In order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance that is not Hamas and not anyone advocating the destruction of Israel. That's what we want to do. We want to liberate ourselves and liberate the people of Gaza from the awful terror of Hamas.
As the cabinet votes, mass protests erupted across Israel. According to Israel, it already controls around 75% of Gaza. Most of Gaza's population of about 2 million has been displaced multiple times over the past 22 months, and aid groups are warning that the enclave's residents are on the verge of famine. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, France's biggest wildfire in about 80 years has been tamed after blazing through 160 square kilometers of land in the southern Aude region. Now, this is equivalent to an area larger than the French capital city, Paris. Also, according to local authorities, the fire, which began Tuesday, was contained as of Thursday evening. One woman was killed, more than a dozen injured, and some 36 homes destroyed. Also, some 2,000 people were forced to flee. Firefighters, meanwhile, remain on alert to ensure no flare-ups occur. Back on the local front, National Liberation Day is precisely 1 week away, and in light of the upcoming occasion, today we turn the spotlight onto a lesser-known but equally important individual who strove for Korea's independence. Our Pyongyang shares his story.
This year marks the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule. To commemorate, a special exhibition is underway to spotlight the life and legacy of Sang-ryong, one of the leaders of the Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea. Titled Prime Minister Sang-ryong and AMCHAM, the exhibit also celebrates 100 years since its inauguration. After Japan's annexation of Korea in 1910, Yi gave up his fortune and relocated to Manchuria, China, with his entire family to escape colonial oppression and lay the foundations for armed resistance.
He focused on unifying the fragmented independence movement groups and also established the Sheneng Military Academy, where he aimed to provide proper historical education to the cadets by writing the Daedong history and teaching them accurate accounts of Korea's past.
But Yi's story cannot be told without AMCHAM, his ancestral home in Andong City. Imcheonggak is a 500-year-old hanok, or traditional Korean house, and one of the largest preserved residences from the Joseon dynasty. The home also produced no fewer than 10 recognized independence activists, including Lee's brothers, son, grandchildren, nephews, and even his uncle.
Imcheonggak is a historic site that shows how the sacrifices made for the nation will ultimately be honored and protected by the nation itself. Though it was damaged due to its role in the independence movement, the government is now fully committed to restoring it.
Sang-ryong was not only an independence fighter, but also a literary figure. Through essays, letters, and manifestos, he chronicled Korea's suffering and yearning for independence. These handwritten records in the exhibition are being featured as works of calligraphy.
A gifted poet and writer, Lee's literary contributions have been brought to light by the brushwork of master calligrapher Lee Dong-ik.
This exhibition was created to give visitors a chance to engage with the Seokju-yugo, a collection of his Sang-ryong's writings. It's especially meaningful because it also features calligraphy works that reflect his passion and sacrifice for Korea's independence.
The exhibition can be enjoyed for free at the Seoul Museum of History until August 31st. Hyun-yeong, Arirang News.
A Kpop camp is currently taking place here in the country ahead of the opening of an actual K-pop school. Our culture correspondent Park Gonu was there.
Letitia in your area? 21-year-old Letitia from Brazil traveled halfway across the globe to Korea with one goal: to succeed in K-pop. Not even a scorching summer heat can stop her from practicing hard every day.
Well, the most exciting part is to be like such a great team and to learn from people like in another different country. In K-pop, they mix up a lot of styles, and you need to really know the basis to really do well, and that's really hard because you need to be focused. K-pop 학교 입학하고 싶어요. 진짜로 너무요.
Participants from around the world have gathered here in Jeonju, drawn by their passion for K-pop and chasing one big dream: to become part of the K-pop scene. So let's go see how hard these guys have been working to make that dream come true. 5, 6, 7, 8. For 2 weeks, about 20 girls from 10 different countries, including India and Kazakhstan, have been training for hours daily, perfecting K-pop songs and choreography as part of a pilot program before the launch of an official K-pop school. For every move and facial expression, practice, practice, and more practice. During the day, Korean vocal practice also echoes around the practice room, with voices blending into one harmonious sound despite the different nationalities. And though Korean isn't their mother tongue, they keep practicing tirelessly to improve. But it's not always easy, as sometimes they struggle after facing challenges.
It's a lot of pressure. I think there's the desire to be constantly perfect. I'm hoping that I can meet the standards of both myself and the people that I want to perform for. So it's been hard, and I'm not used to dancing like 8 hours a day. It's something that I still want to pursue and continue.
When the pressure builds, teachers are there with them. Detailed feedback follows each performance, and the trainees work hard to apply it, boosting their skills and confidence.
Lots of them didn't even know how to sing at first, but their love for K-pop makes them absorb everything so quickly. If they get systematic training, I'm sure they'll be good enough to achieve their dreams.
After beating 28-1 odds to get here, these aspiring K-pop demon hunters are now preparing for their debut showcase next week, the moment they'll fight to secure the Honmun. Park Gonu, Arirang News, Jeonju.
Pundits say the evolution of display technology has been dramatic. And to share with you the latest advances in enhancing the visual experience, an exhibition is underway here in Seoul until tomorrow, that is Saturday. Our Moon Ji-young files this report.
A glimpse of South Korea's latest display technologies. The 24th edition of the Korea Display Exhibition, dubbed K-Display 2025, kicked off in Seoul on Thursday. At this internationally certified exhibition, domestic panel companies leading the OLED sector, along with a large number of domestic and international materials, parts, and equipment companies gathered to showcase the future direction of display technology. LG Display, an industry giant, unveiled its cutting-edge fourth-generation OLED TV panel. This panel stands out with an industry-first technology that independently stacks the three primary colors of light, pushing the boundaries with a stunning peak brightness of 4,000 nits. The company further showcased for the first time the world's fastest OLED monitor panel, which boasts an unparalleled refresh rate. LG Display is also highlighting its automotive display, which spans the entire width of the car in front of both the passengers and the driver's seats. This pillar-to-pillar display is poised to be the first of its kind to enter mass production in the industry. Another industry titan, Samsung Display, has taken the lead with its ultra-fine OLED on silicon, or OLEDOS products for XR devices, showcasing the expansive possibilities of ultra-high-resolution XR technology. The company also unveiled a groundbreaking 6,000-nit micro-LED for next-generation smartwatches. This is a significant leap, 2,000 nits brighter than the 4,000-nit watch micro-LED that Samsung Display showcased at CES 2025 just 6 months ago. All these display technologies are being showcased until Saturday in Seoul. More than 140 companies are participating in this year's event, which has attracted approximately 20,000 visitors. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy said the government will continue to provide policy support, including R&D investment and strengthening the competitiveness of the materials, parts, and equipment industry. 문지영, 아리랑 뉴스.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Thailand and Cambodia have reached a consensus on implementing a ceasefire, agreeing to deploy ASEAN observer teams and pledging to freeze troop movements along their shared border. At a General Border Committee session in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday, officials from both countries finalized ceasefire terms following armed clashes that erupted on their disputed border last month. They agreed to a ceasefire covering all types of weapons, a pledge to refrain from unprovoked fire, and a commitment not to increase troop deployments along the contested border area. Both parties also agreed to establish interim observer teams comprised of ASEAN defense attachés and coordinated by Malaysia, with limited oversight from observers from China and the U.S. The teams will operate within their respective borders without crossing into neighboring territory. The Cambodian Minister of National Defense said that Cambodia will fully implement the agreement, and Thailand's acting defense minister stated that this meeting was crucial to regional peace. ChatGPT maker OpenAI has officially launched GPT-5, its most advanced AI model yet, which will be available to all 700 million users of ChatGPT from Thursday. CEO Sam Altman explained that the latest model can provide PhD-level expertise across a wide range of tasks, with faster responses, reduced incorrect, misleading, or fabricated information, and built-in reasoning. The model introduces variants GPT-5 Mini and GPT-5 Nano, optimized for speed and cost, as well as advanced tiers such as GPT-5 Pro and GPT-5 Thinking, designed for complex tasks. Finally, a study published in Scientific Reports on Thursday unveiled evidence of Neolithic cannibalism in northern Spain. Researchers examined human remains found in El Mirador cave. The remains from 11 individuals, including adults, adolescents, and children, date back roughly 5,600 years. Their bones displayed cut marks, human bite marks, fractures consistent with marrow extraction, and signs of boiling, suggesting that the remains were skinned, defleshed, cooked, and consumed. Researchers speculate that a single act of intergroup violence caused the cannibalization, and there were no signs of ritual or famine that might otherwise explain the event. 최지희, 아리랑 뉴스.
With a heat wave advisory still in place in the south and on Jeju Island, the heat wave was scorching today with a daytime high of 32 degrees Celsius in Seoul and 33 degrees in Daegu. Highs will only rise to 29 degrees in Seoul tomorrow. However, rain in most parts of the country this weekend. In particular, heavy rain of up to 200 millimeters will fall on the south coast and 100 to 150 millimeters in other southern areas. When it rains in these areas, it will pour very strongly, around 30 to 50 millimeters per hour. Rain in the Seoul metropolitan area and Gangwon-do province will mostly stop during the night. Other areas will continue to have rain until Sunday. Tomorrow, Seoul and Busan will start off at 25 degrees, Jeju at 27 degrees. Daily highs will go up to around 29 to 31 degrees all over the country. Rain is forecast often next week. Please be prepared in advance. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching. Coming up next is Press Perspective.